Is sexual impulse a psychic disorder? This is a sane request to all the human beings, particularly the light, the doctors, the yoga therapists, and the theosophers, to concentrate on this subject. Why? Because human beings as a race is having a reproductive vitality. This reproductive vitality is essential to fill in the gap in the universe. That gap is created by a repulsive identity. As such, the human race has to develop on its own. As this is the way with all the races, and they are having a time conditioned identity for the mating season, and that is why there is a natural control on the sexual impulses or gender attractions and the multiplication of the race. On the other hand, in the case of the human beings, there is no time identity for that. That is why it has become a question in the elite, in the religious preachers, in the yoga practitioners, and in the common man, and also even the medical doctors, to think of multiply about this so-called gender attraction or sexual impulse. This is an analysis on this subject, which is a natural dimension. The mutation of a race is a divine identity. It is a cosmocentric force. When it is cosmocentric force, it is a natural attribute given to the human race for the development of the race. As long as it is cosmocentric, it is acceptable. There is no taboo for that. It is more essential. And that is why the Dharma Shastras or the religious canons have come to a level of understanding the householder's life as the pious life. When the sexual impulse or gender interaction is considered to be only for the development of the growth of the race, it is pious, religious, theological, dharmic, and healthy. It is cosmocentric by itself. The famous poets like Kalidasa has mentioned in Raghuvamsha that Prajayai Gruhamedinam, the householdership is only to hold the reproductive activity of the race. Secondly, there is one more dimension. It is psychocentric. When this particular gender attraction or sexual impulse turns psychocentric, it will be totally controlled by the three gunas. The three gunas are cosmocentric forces called Sattva Guna, psychocentric forces called Rajoguna, and biocentric forces called tamoguna. When the attributes are totally identified, the level of the sexual impulse or sexuality will be changed from the piousness to romance. That is why it is termed as a romantic theme in the life, the wetness of the life, the healthy and happy dimension of the life. And it has attracted so many artists, the poets, the philosophers, the painters. All these people have concentrated. It is not virile, it is attractive, it is a creative identity, and that is why much of the literature, arts, they have nucleared around the themes of romance. There, the romantic behavior of a man or woman is considered to be a grace to the personality. It is not a divine grace, it is human grace. The general word Vrishabha, Shrestha, which are used in Sanskrit, they indicate like the bull or like the lion, he will be mating with many animals, and it indicates the heroic qualities, and there the level of the sexuality has turned into a concept of luxurious comfort, and that is why most of the medieval period is dominated by a way of sexual imperialism which has made the nobility and the aristocracy to have the concubines, and that rich culture has entered even the temples in India under the name of the Rangabhoga. The Devadasi cult has entered. The women and men were described in different dimensions which are attractive, refractory, and at the same time they will be inspiring a creativity. The entire endocrinal system is totally refreshed through this particular lustrous dimension of the creativity of sexual impulse, which is generally classified as romantic. When it is biocentric, it becomes a biological dimension. It attains the level of an animosity. It is like an animal. In this level, the man and the woman have their relationships not controlled by the cosmic forces, not controlled by the psychic forces, but they are totally controlled by the biological forces. The body, the beauty, the luster, the symmetry, the sexual drive, and the sexual impulses play a vital role. The social relationships, the morality, and the theosophy are all totally forgotten, and it is a dimension of sexual virility, and it is a violent sex leading to different practices like polygamy, polyandry, prostitution, and so many other aspects. In this case, we have to understand this sexual dimension as tamoguna. It is biocentric. The question here is how we have to understand the 20th century and the 21st century has seen obviously the multiplication of the porn literature and the porn videos, and most of the youth are very much influenced. The scholars like Vedadri Maharshi, Osho, who are yogis, they have tried to understand the sexuality and spiritualism alike. The lower level of spiritualism is sexuality. The higher level of sexuality is spiritualism. This sequence is not understood by a common man. A common man is simply of the body attraction, and that is why different taboos have been laid on the man-woman relationship and the illicit contacts and the incest, and that is why it has become a criminal identity. A divine law has turned into a moral law and has become a criminal law. As long as the relationship between the man and the woman is only for the extension of the race and the reproduction of the race and the creation of the race, it is divine. When it is for comfort and luxury, it is a moral identity. It is somewhat more humane. But when it is considered to be like simply an exposure or misusing the body for some other purposes under the name of the sexual attraction, it is criminal and it is totally biocentric. The request has been made to most of the people to understand that as long as the sex is or sexual impulse or gender attraction is simply divine, it is healthy, it promotes immunity, it creates radiance in the body, and it is an essential phenomena with the garhastya or householdership. But when it is particularly changing to other dimensions, then we have to think of the other aspects. It becomes very much unhygienic, ill-healthy, and reducing the immunity and promoting the death also.